The DIESOL podcast,
Developing innovation in English as a second or other language.
episode 87, 12 AI tools to explore over summer.
Welcome to DIESOL. This is episode 87. We are your hosts. I'm Brent Warner.
And I'm Ixchell Reyes.
Good morning. Good July. How are you, Ixchell?
Well, it's afternoon for me.
Good afternoon. It's afternoon for me too.
Good afternoon, Brent. How you doing?
I am actually feeling pretty relaxed at this point. So like all this heavy stuff of wrapping up the semester. I told you last time, my father passed away. So kind of taking care of all of that stuff. But also on top of that, the getting my visa approved for moving to Japan.
Oh yeah. Did that go through?
It did. And so okay, I have my visa, my proper visa. I've got all the things that I need. We've got our tickets. And so now it's finally like, okay, like all the little things that you're worried about that other people have to do, like bureaucracies or, just when you're relying on other people to get stuff done. And now all that stuff is done. So now it's just on me, which is much easier to deal with, so it's like I got to finish my packing or cleaning up or whatever it is, but yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. So now I am we have our date.
I was gonna say, when's D-Day?
D-Day, what is it? Departure day, I guess is what the D stands for.
Yes, that's exactly what it says.
That will be on Tuesday the 18th. So we'll have this episode and one more episode, and then I will be over across the Pacific.
Somewhere in the world.
Yeah, so
cool.
Pretty good. Well, I don't have to be secretive about where I'm going. I'm going to Japan. So, but yeah, so that should be pretty good. How about you? You're doing okay?
Doing okay. Just trying to survive the heat in Texas. It's made national news, international news actually, because my international friends were checking in on me. I've heard about Texas heat.
Oh, did your governor go skiing somewhere else, like at this, or your representative?
Well, no, they cut water breaks for construction workers, so there's that.
Good. Yeah, we're doing real well as a country here. Like okay, let's. All right, so today, let's not talk about the things that are bumming us out. Let's talk a little bit about exploration. And so. Yeah. We were kind of talking and just said like, hey, let's keep it a little bit lighter. Let's keep it, we don't have to do so much research on this one. But we did search up a couple of tools that we've been wanting to explore. So Ixchell, you and I usually do an episode, or actually we've been pretty consistent. The first episode of the year has been
our new tools to explore.
New tools to explore, right? And so this year, of course, I think we did throw a couple of AI things in there in that conversation because it was starting to come new, but basically
it was like 2 months old.
I know,
just a baby.
It's a baby, and now it's
that's a monster.
It's 6 months. It's like a multi.
I mean, our episode
it's like a millipede monster. Yeah, it's just got more legs.
Our episode on AI it's the end of the world as we know it. So we haven't figured out where we are there. So,
yeah, right. But we did thought, we done did thought.
That's usually me, Brent.
I know my coffee's not kicking in for whatever reason. I'm too relaxed. So we just said, hey, let's find some tools that we want to explore that we haven't so much. I've been a little picky about AI tools as they started coming out because a lot of them were this is just layering a secret prompt on top of ChatGPT and that's what the whole tool is, and then you're paying separately for that, and I don't have a lot of respect for that alone, but now I think there are more and more where people are really starting to figure out like, okay, here's how we can customize that AI stuff into needs that help with a specific output more clearly. So even though some of them probably are still pulling from OpenAI's sources or whatever else it is, I'm starting to see ones where I go, okay, like that has enough value because of what it's producing or what it's creating on the back end that I can see where people would want to use it. So I think that's kind of what we're jumping into today. So we're keeping it light.
Yeah.
And I don't think you or I have explored many of these in depth.
No,
and so they're
but
just
that's
about,
what summer's for.
yeah, that's what our summer is for. So it's just, hey, we might want to check this out. And then for everyone listening, please share with us. Let us know, because we want to hear too, like, hey, you know, there's all sorts of interesting things out there, and there's so many that come out every day. It's impossible to keep on top of. So as Ixchell knows, I'm about to say,
let's dive right in. All right. So the first tool we have today is Twee. That's TWEE. And I just played around on it a little bit, but it looks like something I might want to explore more. And this is just another, I guess it's geared toward teachers creating quizzes. And then also you could have a video to text summary or a quiz. So that's new for me, where you're looking at a video and AI is pulling from that. So that's kind of cool. You could have questions generated from the video.
So like it watches the video and it creates its own set of questions for it.
So I'm curious about that, because I'm still, again, just like you, skeptical about a lot of the tools, especially when they're not perfect. But I also don't want to discount what it can, where it's just showing where we're going, right? Where AI is going and what it can do. And again, AI is 7 months old. To have a birthday, so it's kind of cool. It's not even its full birthday. So I think Twee is worth checking out. I'd never heard of it before, so looks promising.
So this is interesting. So thinking of our language learners, so this it Twee, as I'm looking at it, you shared it here, and it says AI powered tools for English teachers. But I'm wondering, like, one of the things that I think is a big power play possibly here is to make these things for students, right? And so I think that my students would really get a lot of value out of having a tool like this that's going to create their own, because I see here it says create multiple choice questions, open questions, true false things, find interesting whatever. And so if a student could just click and apply that to a video on YouTube or whatever that they're already watching and kind of interested in, and then they're like, oh, and I can kind of test my English myself at the same time as I'm going with it, I see a lot of value for something like that.
Well, one of the things that happens all the time is students will ask, is there a website you know about where I can go and watch something and then answer some questions and test my knowledge? And there are some, but now the student would have access to everything, right? So if they wanted to watch a particular video and then test themselves on that, now they don't have to search a website or search another place. And I think that's kind of where there's a lot of value.
Yeah. And I think something like this too, because you could go learning, right? So you can jump onto a YouTube video and say, hey, I want to check out this grammar video, and someone's explaining a concept and, these English grammar. Have you ever noticed all the ESL grammar videos are always just someone standing in front of a rolling whiteboard?
Yes.
Why are they always?
I don't know.
Why isn't there?
But there's always this whole like the introduction and the conclusion are longer than the actual content of it.
So what you're saying is we need one that is more highly produced and gets right to the point, which that's kind of Khan Academy, to tell the truth. But you can send students to Khan Academy as well. But anyways, so this is cool. This does seem to be teacher based at the moment, which I like a lot of stuff that is teacher based, and so you could maybe have some control over it. But I also like the idea that maybe students could jump in and just figure out their own stuff. Okay, so mine.
What do you have?
Is 11 Labs. And Ixchell, I think you saw one of my presentations or part of my presentations where I deep faked myself. Did you see that video?
Yes, I did.
So Creepy. This is what I used to deep fake my voice. And so 11 Labs, I think it's 11labs.io, and we'll have a link in the show notes. And I think it's still in beta, but basically it'll take your voice and it will scan how you speak, and then you can type whatever you want and it will speak that out in your voice. So you can fake your own voice. Lots of different potential. First of all, dark roads to go down there as well as potentially bright roads. So I guess we should be a little bit clear about that. But it is an interesting idea where you can duplicate your voice. I have not tried it yet, and one thing that I really do want to do is to try it out with having a couple of students trying speaking in their English, which has whatever level of accents, right? And so I'm interested to know how the quality of the voice would come out if the intonations or the pronunciation is not always the same as, or not same, but is not along all standardized lines, right? And so I really do want to test this out with some students and get like, okay, you've got like a Chinese English accent, or you've got a Farsi English accent, or whatever else it is, and see if that voice also tracks along with it. But regardless, if you're going to be creating video or audio content for your students and it's a little bit overwhelming, but you want them to hear your voice, then you could just copy and paste text that already exists, and then they could click a play button. So for example, what I think would really be cool here, Ixchell, take 11 Labs, take some content that you want to have, create your voice for it, and then output the audio file, and then go into something like Google Slides, and then you can make that be your audio play button, so you can say upload audio and then have a little play button on the slides, and then it would be reading out your voice of certain things that you want them to know, but you don't necessarily have had to have taken the time to record one and one every single time. So anyways, some interesting potential things there if you want to duplicate your voice.
Creepy. Still think it's creepy.
It is.
Can it please just get my name correctly, please? If AI could do that, eventually I'd be plenty happy. Okay.
That's actually the real Turing test is like, what is your name? And is it he shall? Is it Hell, which comes up sometimes. Michelle, of course, is a regular one, which I get, but it still is just not, your name is the Turing test in 2023.
All right. So along those lines, talking about slides, I've never used Slides GPT or Slide GPT, but that's the one that my students constantly mention. I found Slides AI similar. I don't know if Slides GPT costs any money. This one is 3 free presentations a month. And what I thought was interesting, and again, I don't know if Slide GPT does this already, but it supports 100 languages. So I think this is cool for me. Again, worth checking out.
Input in whatever different languages, and it will create for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it can translate to whatever language. Yeah. So that's cool. That's a exploration point for me.
All right, nice. There are some slide ones. A lot of people actually ask me when I do presentations, they're like, what about slides ones? And I'm like, oh. And so I have seen this one, but again, I haven't played with it either. So again, all of us, everyone listening, let's hold hands, link elbows, and explore this stuff as we keep going forward. So speaking of exploring, this one's pretty techy right now, but it's definitely a clear sign of where things are going to go and become easier and easier. I shared this online a month or so ago, and people were like interested in it, or maybe not quite a month, but anyways, I shared a little while ago. People were interested in it, but some people were like, this is still too techy for me. But what you can do now is you can go in and create generative QR codes. And so
that is so cool.
Yeah. And these pictures, we'll put one or two in the show notes, or we'll put the link to my tweet on it or whatever in the show notes. But they're so cool because what it does is it takes whatever the QR code that you have designed. So if you go into QR stuff or whatever, you design this QR code, and then you kind of combine it with with a generative image. And so will keep the QR code and all the things that need to be read with the transition, but it will also blend it together. And it turns out these amazing looking pieces of art. And they're not just abstract art, like they're like pictures of people like walking around, or there's like a picture of like one that's like a aerial view of a city, like top down, like you've seen in some of those old, like the old fashioned movies where they fly over the city. And so it's like, looks like a city top down, but then when you scan it, it's a QR code or, whatever else it is.
That is so cool.
Yeah. So a lot of these things are pretty amazing. And you can just say like what you want it to be. So I really see a lot of interesting potential for, especially for people doing things like breakout rooms or engaging students in the classroom. And then like you kind of have pieces of art around the classroom, and then the students finally figure out that they have to go scan them, that
Mm-hmm.
maybe, oh, these things are actually scannable, they're QR codes, and then they're going to take me to a hint, or they're going to help me, figure out how to talk about something or whatever else it is. So there's a lot of really interesting potential for cool, interaction with students with art and QR codes here.
I'm going to see how my class does that. I'm going to play with that next week.
Yeah,
Cool.
but I will warn
So,
you look at
okay.
it, but it is a little bit, it's actually fairly techy. You have to kind of download a couple of things from GitHub and whatever, but
Okay.
I think it'll come along
Try
soon.
it.
Yeah.
We'll see if one of my students is brave enough. Be like, tell me what you find.
I'll figure out
Okay.
how to do this.
Explore. The next tool is called Runway. And it allows you to generate images and short videos. So if you wanted to, I don't know, generate an image of you want a gigantic wave and a shark jumping out from the ocean, you could prompt it to do that, and it'll do it for you. The free version is limited, but it's enough to get you started. You could also do videos, so it can actually move things around. You could upload your own images and your own video clips. They're just going to be short. But where I see this could be fun is where you are building slides, or you're actually building a video, putting together a video, and you want to have transitions and you want to have kind of interesting imagery. I think that would be really cool.
Oh, that is cool. So
it's more of a artistic, I guess, if you were making a video, or if students were making a video, I think that would be kind of cool. I think you had something on Twitter where you had shared building homophones.
Yeah. You're talking about the minimal pairs.
Minimal pairs. Yeah. And I think that is something really cool, because now students can talk about a picture. They can describe a picture, or they can see how interesting their picture can get based on something like that.
Yeah. Well,
or if you're trying to do a grammatical point, or have, or elicit particular speech out of them.
For sure. So yeah, the minimal pairs thing I was doing was, it was like, bees on peas or something like that.
Yeah, it was so cool. I thought it was great.
Yeah, and it was fun for sure. But then what I was thinking, there's a lot of playroom with images and language learning here inside of this too, right? Because you could do those things that are minimal pairs, of course, and I think that is a fun thing to play with. But also, like, just the traditional activity of, like, you describe something to another person, and then the other person just tries to draw it, right? But you could do an actual intermediary with some of this generative AI art, like this with Runway, where one person could type a description, it could show up as the picture, and then the other person is then going to look at that picture and then try to write out the description of what it is. So you could almost do like a game of visual telephone, like we should call it FaceTiming, the FaceTime game. What's a visual telephone? No, I don't like that. Zoom? No, I don't like any of those. We're gonna find another name, but something like that, right? Where it's like kind of a telephone game, but like with pictures instead of with, and it's generated
almost
through AI.
like the Japanese shiritori, but with images.
Yeah.
Like that concept, right? I don't know,
Yes.
something.
Yeah, exactly. Linking one to the next, right? I mean, there's the that's the idea that we're looking at. So
Image link. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll come up with a name for it, and then here's what we'll do: we're going to come up with a name for this single simple idea, and then we're going to write an entire book about it. And then, have you ever noticed how people do that? Like, it's like that's a cool idea. It's one idea. It's not a book, but they make a whole book out of it. Okay, this is the world we live in. My next one. So speaking of writing these things out, this is actually a really important one inside of the world of AI and generative text and all this stuff. So there's this one called structured prompt, and I've been talking a little bit about this in my presentations recently. The big thing that people are really going to need to know is how to prompt AI, right? It's not, all the other things. There's lots of conversations, but at the end of the day, I heard an interesting podcast, and this guy, Scott Galloway, he's a professor. He's quite well known, but he basically said AI isn't going to take your job. People who know how to use AI are going to take your job. And I was like, like, yes, that is the term, right? That is the way to say it. And so, so I really like that idea. And so this website called Structured Prompt basically helps you build out these quite complex prompts. And so one that they had come up with that you can put into ChatGPT is essentially like an old-fashioned Zork type of thing. So it's like those old computer games where it's like you would type something and it would respond to you, and you could do this and you can do that. And so it sets up all these parameters, and then you're just having a text adventure game inside of ChatGPT, and it's really cool. So you can do the variations of these, but you can go all sorts of places. So what I'm going to be using this is to play with, like, hey, how's it going to work if I try to have it give students feedback based on a rubric, for example, right? That might be a layer one. There's lots of conversations, so everybody don't get upset. I'm still doing my own grading, all that. But what I'm saying is that students can use some of these things to say, well, am I hitting these things? What am I getting at, right? Or maybe, whatever else it is that you're trying to get in-depth prompting to and a little bit more accurate. So structured prompt is one of these, and I think you have to sign up for it. I signed up and got in pretty quickly, but it's definitely very cool, and I think this is kind of where the future of people who really want to know what they're doing is going to be around this prompting stuff.
Very, very cool. So the next tool is called CuraPod. Mm-hmm. And this, you said in the pre-show, we were talking about how you got to meet or you saw the reps at Q.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is the first time I've heard of it. So it's kind of a cool place to also dive in and explore.
Yeah.
But it can generate slides. And when I logged in to take a look at the interface, because I don't like things that are overwhelming, because if it takes me a lot of troubleshooting, and I'm okay for the most part troubleshooting and playing around, but not every teacher is. And I love getting reluctant teachers or the ones that are maybe afraid to explore, to try. And so this doesn't seem intimidating. The interface is fairly simple, and you can generate slides, and then it'll also generate discussion questions. You could also, and as you shared this with me, but then I got to play with it in the same way that Pear Deck does activities within the slides. You can do the same with CuraPod, and you can save the slides and then have notes that you can generate and print them out for students, and you can take polls, etc. It's all just I just thought it was cool, and it was fairly simple, and it looked. I saw like maybe 8 buttons with pictures, so that was like, oh, I know what that means. I know what that means, and I could click pretty easily to get to like a sample. So I like that. That was CuraPod.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool stuff. I played with it. I think I used it once just as a during like a informal chat with students last time, and I met a couple of those guys, and I think it was, I want to say, Eric and Jens maybe were the two guys walking around and introducing themselves and showing what's going on. And so it's definitely startup, and it's it's like getting its feet in, but a lot of people are really interested in it. You see a lot of people sharing and talking about it. So CuraPod is an interesting one. And then like what you were talking about, the interactive part, like you click that button and you get a game going, or like, so it's just like brain break time, click, and then all the students are suddenly now just playing like a little novelty game for 30 seconds, a minute, whatever else it is. And so it's a really cool, lots of little options in there, and then you just type in, you say, hey, today we're going to study about the history of I don't know, the history of Coca-Cola, and then you type it in, and it can actually start your slide deck for you to get you kicked off for that. So I do like where that's going. So my next one, and this is one, again, I haven't played with at all yet, but it's called Speech Ace, SPEECHACE. And basically this is what I've been looking for a little while with this AI stuff, is where are they going to start getting people talking to it, right? And so this one is students can go in and they can start pronouncing individual words or saying sentences, and then it will give them some AI feedback on what they wrote. But then the cool part is that there's 2 parts. So there's like kind of the back end to it, and then a teacher can still go in and listen and give their own feedback as well to students. And so there's a platform inside of there. It's not the most clean looking, but it seems to work, and it seems to be kind of getting started. So students can go in, record their little parts, if they're beginners, it might just be a word or two. If they're more advanced, you can create a script for them, and then it goes and gives them some feedback inside of there, gives them information on how to maybe improve those little parts, and then it goes into a stored system. So then the teacher can also go in, look at it, use it for whatever else they're going to use it. So Speech Ace, it's almost like, and I will be surprised if this doesn't end up happening, but it's kind of like that Google pronunciation tool that I share a lot, but a little bit, but with an option to interact across multiple people, which I like a lot. So Speech Ace is there.
Very cool. Next is Conquer. Again, first time I've explored or looked or heard about this. It creates quizzes on any topic, and it can translate the results into several languages. But the feature that I thought was kind of worth exploring was that students can join a quiz. And I'm curious to see if this is similar to Kahoot in that sense. And so that's the feature I would want to explore, because I think with so many AI tools, we're going to be seeing just a range of quiz generating websites.
Right.
And while that's great, I want one that can do a lot more than just generate the quiz, because I could do that just on regular old ChatGPT.
Yeah. I think Conquer is actually made by the people who make Moat. And so, yeah, so there's some definitely some interesting potential in there, but I don't know. I'd have, again, everybody, we're going to go explore, but I think it exports as Google quizzes maybe, or something like that too. So
that would be cool.
Yeah. So there's some, and then thinking about how you might link that to other things, right? With using other, so like how that's going to connect to spreadsheets, and then spreadsheets out to whatever, right? So there's some really, if those get put together well, I think that's pretty cool.
Okay.
My next one is kind of a connection to my previous one. So the Speech Ace was the first one. The second one, and I actually talked to the founder of this, and I tried to use it last semester. I just got overwhelmed with too much, but it's
Did you get a chance at all?
A little bit. I did share it with my students. They did. Some of them jumped in and tried to use it, but I wasn't able to like properly integrate it. I was like, "Hey, let's check this thing out. Here it is. Here's the sign up." And the founder was really nice and tried to help me out with it. And I failed in my own ability to get it fully going. But it was pretty cool. So it's called Flow, and the website is flowspeak.io, and basically it's already got lessons built into it. So same kind of thing as the Speech Ace one, but I think it's a little bit more clean and built into the app, and so it's really kind of meant to be on your phone. But then it goes into all these categories that are already pre-made. So it's like, hey, students need to learn how to talk at an airport, or how to go to a post office, or whatever else it is. And then they'll give these little dialogues that you can kind of repeat and practice. And then they're building in little AI options, so that the feedback is already kind of tying in with the AI stuff. And so it's saying, hey, this is how accurate your pronunciation was, your intonation, whatever. And it gives you little hints inside of theirs as you go through it, or as the students go through it. But then it also, you can also kind of customize it. So if they're just short little lessons, almost like Duolingo length, like 2-3 minute lessons, and you just kind of jump in and try something out and then see how it goes. So I think this one actually has a lot of potential. It's a little bit more clean and polished than the other one, but they're serving slightly different purposes. They would probably overlap. You would probably choose one or the other, but you would want to go look at them. So anyways, Flow seems to be a really great one that I want to explore some more.
Very cool. All right. Well, my last share is Flicky.ai, and this is
I like saying that.
Flicky. It generates transcripts. And you can go from video and audio, and then it'll just generate, just a regular transcript. But the feature that I thought would be worth exploring is where it has a portion where you can create a book. I thought, like, that's kind of cool. So is it where you're speaking to it or uploading audio, and then it creates your like a digital book? And so I wanted to explore that. So I thought, okay, that's kind of cool. So
like a book that you would like turns into a PDF, or does it go out to eMovie or something like that?
I think it's like a PD. I think it's like a book generator.
Okay.
So I immediately thought of, oh my gosh, the Google tool. What's that? Books. Books, Google Books? No, 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 no. What is it called? Where
Uh,
it reads it to you. You can create your own book. Oh my gosh, I can't think of it right
oh,
now.
Book Creator.
Book Creator.
Is that
Book
Google?
Creator. Is it Google
I don't
or
know.
is it?
I
Is
thought it
it
was
just
its own
work with
independent
Google?
company, but okay.
Man, I need to
We all need to
re-
go exploring a little bit more.
review.
The crazy thing about that one, Book Creator has like some
Okay.
very hardcore fans, like people who are into it are like, this is
Yes.
everything, and
Yes.
they are screaming
There's
at
some
us right now for
amazing
not doing
stuff. Yeah.
it.
Yeah. No, no, no. So it's not a Google thing. It just yeah. You're right. It's its own thing. Book
Okay,
Creator.
so maybe Flicky could link out to that, or maybe connect to it,
Yeah,
or
I didn't explore, but I saw that and I thought, okay, that's interesting. That's why I would want to choose to explore this over just your regular, I don't know, what do we use for the transcription?
right now I use Otter.
Otter, that's right. Okay, but again, there's so many other tools. This is one
Yeah, yeah,
to explore.
okay, and we'll see if it gets your name.
Fire.
And my last one is Firefly. So Adobe made a big splash with their Firefly, so that's their generative AI thing, right?
Oh.
But I was never able to play with it until a little bit now. So it was like, it's like sign up and get on the wait, and it's like, well, maybe announce it when I can, like when anybody can just get in. But anyways, it's out there now, and they're definitely, it's very cool if you go and look at the Firefly page. A lot of the things that they can do or that are coming soon as features are super impressive. So some of them, I just put a little list of the things that I liked. That doesn't necessarily mean they're all out right now, but they're probably coming soon if they're not. So one of them is upscaling low resolution images. I like that a lot because, like if you have old pictures from, your flip phone that are like super, super digital, you could actually probably run it through there and it would scan it and then update it to high definition, so it looks clean on a modern computer. Mixing and mashing up multiple images, so you like upload two pictures together. So it's like if you uploaded a picture of you, Ixchell, yeah, and then at
On a
the
horse.
beach, it might put you surfing on the beach or something like that, right? The extended background, I think that's pretty common. A lot of people are starting to see that and play with that. So it's like, oh, I want it to fit a certain size, but it doesn't fit. So the head's head's not the right size. So you can stretch out the background and it will do like a predictive background, which is pretty good. And then here's something that I saw in there too. Once you generate, so you do a text to image generation, right? So you say, hey, draw me a jar, or like create a jar of candy on a table, and it'll do that. But then it looks like you can export it to Photoshop and you can actually select the elements. So you could select the jar in Photoshop and then you could actually shrink it down or make it bigger. I'm like, oh, that is so cool.
That is really cool.
It's not just one image, it's a layered out image where all the parts are doing their own things, right? And then, they're coming up with other things. So one is sketch to image, which is like you draw a sketch picture and it will turn that into a high quality AI image, which I kind of like because
Hey, is that like crayon AI?
yeah,
Have you heard of crayon AI?
I haven't seen that. Is that the same idea?
You sketch something and then it'll turn it into something else. Like
Well,
it'll turn it into a different its own rendition.
yeah, it's supposed to be
That's
like a
cool.
higher quality version of whatever you've drawn, right? So like if you're just like if you have ideas you're trying to sketch out, but like you can't get a good visual, like I know what this one should look like, but my drawing is bad, then maybe it would turn yours into like a really good quality image of what you're actually looking for. And then the last one in here, and so this is kind of all combined together under Firefly, but super cool. They're also developing text to templates. So if you're using things like Adobe Express, where like, hey, here's the template, it has the picture, it has the text up here, it has whatever down below, information, hours, whatever you're putting, like if you're making a flyer, if you're making a page, you'll actually type in what you want the template to look like. So you would say, I want a picture on the left, I want the banner image at an angle across from the top bottom left to the top right, I want the dates in the bottom, whatever, and then it will create a template version. So then you can customize the information, including the text later, but you have kind of the setup for what the rough layout should look like, and then you're going in and customizing the content inside there. So let's say you're ready to build a flyer, but you don't know the time of the event that you're going to have, it hasn't been decided yet, you could still plan it all out, have the template ready to go, and then just throw in the last parts of the last minute there. So really, really cool, interesting potential there. Firefly is, Adobe has really jumped in with this image side of things, and I think there's going to be some really cool parts, and I think a lot of people are also going to almost not recognize that these are AI integrations into into these. It's starting to get there soon.
Very cool.
Yeah, so lots to explore. Again, everybody, those are just a handful to play with over the summer break if you happen to have one. But please do share with us if you're saying, hey, you guys didn't talk about this. It's going to be awesome, especially if it's for language learners. Let us know, because we want to kind of keeping track of all of these things as we move forward. And I'm also trying, I failed in the last month, but we'll be updating the AI and ESL.com website too. And so if people have ideas or things they want to share, please reach out, because we would love to keep adding more to it and helping people find ways that they can work with it with their students.
All right, it is time for our fun finds, and this time I have a beauty product. Well, it's more of a health product.
Okay.
So I'm a runner, and as I get older, joints start to hurt.
Oh, are you getting older? I decided not to do that.
I think I'm getting older now, and I think I've come to terms. So it is BB Lab Collagen supplement, and this is a powdery, just little powder supplement that you take at night. It is marine collagen, which the body absorbs better than I think the regular collagen is bovine
army collagen versus marine collagen.
What? No.
No.
You're old. That's a dad joke.
Old man dad joke.
But a lot of collagen products, if you've ever had them, or the supplements, they have an aftertaste. And most people don't like that aftertaste, even if you mix it with the drink. But this one, it's a Korean product. It just tastes like milky berry product. And it's kind of like it's mixed with like,
is that an official
powdered
flavor?
Milk? I don't know, like powdered milk, like berry milk.
Okay, milky.
It tastes like candy. It tastes like candy.
I like
it's really good. So it's a BB Lab collagen.
BB Lab collagen. All right, good. So mine is an app. It's
techie.
It's called the Time Shifter app. And I haven't tested it yet, but I am going to. So speaking of getting older, this is actually helps you travel through time. In the sense that you might be flying to a different location and you get jet lag. And so what this app does is it's actually pretty interesting. It's designed to help you have minimal jet lag, and so it'll be
That's cool.
So you tell it, hey, this is when I'm flying, this is when I'm landing, and then it's like, okay, here's your time zones that you're going through, and then it will go through and it'll say, hey, the day before, go to bed 1 hour earlier, or go to bed 2 hours earlier, or whatever else it is, and then it'll say, and then try to have caffeine at this time, and then when you're on the plane, put on your sleep mask at this time, and take a melatonin at this time, or whatever else it is. And so it really kind of walks you through the processes, and it's also flexible. So if you're like, hey, I wasn't able to do that, or it told me to sleep on the plane, but I can't sleep on the plane. And so it's just like, do the best that you can to reduce the amount of jet lag that you get over the portion of the trip. And so since I'm going to Japan, I'm like, okay, well, I really want to try this. And the first trip they let you do for free. So I'm like, okay, this is a pretty big one. And so I'll be testing it out with this first trip, and trying to kind of keep up with what it's telling me. But it seems like it's pretty interesting. A lot of people, the reviews on there, like, actually it really helps. It's not 100% perfect, but it's way better. Like I end up not having 3 or 4 days when I go to travel across overseas or whatever. And so I am really interested in taking a look at this and kind of seeing how it works. And it customizes it for you too. So you're like, hey, this is the kind of lifestyle I live. I don't know, whatever else it might be. And so, there's some really interesting possibilities with the Time Shifter app.
I wish you had found this before I went to Taiwan.
Did you have bad jet lag?
Yes.
Yeah.
13 hours.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, but you can. I found it now, so next time you go to whatever country, you can take a look. Time Shifter app. First flight is free.
All right. Thank you for listening. Please share the show, buy us a coffee, join our Patreon, or leave us some feedback. And if you're giving us a shout out any other way, tag us on social media.
And for show notes and other episodes, you can check out diesel.org/87. That's the number 87. And of course, you can listen to us at Voice Ed Canada. That's voiced.ca. Oh my gosh, Twitter is so bad. Every time we talk about it, it's like, oh, it can't be getting worse. It's so bad right now.
Yes, but it has. Maybe next month it'll be better.
It's like literally, oh, you're allowed to look at 300 tweets and then you're done for the day. It's like, that seems not like a good business model for you guys. But
so our listeners are seeing the curated downfall of Twitter because every 2 weeks we see where it's been.
I know, it's so bad. We're living through it. Anyways, if
we're
not
on
there, somewhere, if you can find the show, it's at DieselPod. But if you can't find the show, because you and I tend to try and make accounts everywhere, we talked about this last time. Mine is at Brent G. Warner, and Katie did get me a Blue Sky invite, so I'm also on Blue Sky there as well.
All right. So I'm still on Twitter. And that's at Ixie_Pixie, IXY_PIXY. Mm-hmm. In Thai, thank you is Kop Kun. Kop Kun for tuning in to the Diesel podcast.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.